Everybody put your arms in the air, like this, arms in the air. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so thank you for the warm welcome. So I am Bret Waters. I've lived in Silicon Valley my whole life. So if I say Silicon Valley, what do you think of? IT. IT, okay. What did you say?
IT sphere.
IT sphere. Expensive real estate. Very expensive real estate. Yeah, it's ridiculously expensive. Smart people. I could. Much work. Yeah. So, sorry?
Have a good tracks in the Silicon Valley, he told.
Oh yeah. It's all about the tacos. You guys know what tacos are? Some Mexican food? Yeah. Taco Bell. Yeah. So the main reason I live in Silicon Valley is because the tacos are really, really good. So I've kind of just been immersed in the whole world of startups. So I've been founder and CEO of 3 different software companies. So 3 times I've been through the process of having a startup idea, raising venture capital, being a CEO. And today I'm kind of semi-retired and I teach 2 classes at Stanford University. One is about how you get from a startup idea to a launched business. And then the other one, you can buy water. And then the second course is getting from there to scale, because they're two very different processes. And I wrote a book a couple years ago called The Launch Path, which is basically about the process for getting from a startup idea to a successful launched venture. So that's me. And I'm here because I've always wanted to come to Ukraine. You know, I always think, I've thought for many years, I've thought of Ukraine as being, you know, kind of one of the real hubs of technology and engineering. I mean, even back in the Soviet days, this was a real hub of technology and engineering. Yes, yeah. So I'm super excited to be here. So we can take this discussion any one of a number of different directions. I can talk a little bit more about startups and the process of launching a successful startup. I also, you know, we talked about, Yuri and I talked about high achievers. In other words, I think a really interesting topic is, you know, you guys are all in this room because you guys are high achievers. You guys are all professionals who, most of you probably very well educated. So the whole topic of, you know, as I said, you guys are all in this room because you're high achievers. And I think it's an interesting topic for all of us to kind of, that we want to get more done every week, right? We want to set our goals and then get done. And many of you are probably parents, yes? How many of you are a mom or a dad? Yeah. So then it gets even harder, right? Because now you're trying to achieve your professional goals while also being a good mom or a good dad. So we thought that, oh, there we are.
You know how it works? You know, you just click it, and that's. This one is better.
Why is that one better?
No clue how it works. Actually, have no clue how that works. Try this one. The arrow here, the arrow there. As easy as one to see.
This is good Ukrainian technology.
All right, I'm Bret Waters. Stanford, I teach 2 courses. Can we turn the lights down so we can see the screen? Is that possible? Okay, all right. One about getting from here to here, here to here. And I've been in Silicon Valley my whole life. Pretty amazing place. I was 17 years old when the Apple I came out. The Apple I did not come with a monitor or a keyboard, so you had to wire up your own monitor and keyboard. And today, of course, it's all about AI, right? And so I've So I've had the very unique opportunity to live in Silicon Valley, all the way from there to there and a whole bunch of things in between. So let's see, that gets us back to the high achievers thing we were just talking about. So what do you do to get everything done? Is it about getting a good night's sleep? Is it about taking pills? All right.
In Ukraine, with the approach.
Making lists. What is it that we do?
Plan.
Plan. You think it's about planning? Yeah. Yeah, that's good. What else?
Being interested in what I'm doing, because before I was really bored, I shifted and now it's much better. I'm motivated.
That's good. Yeah.
Having a good team.
Having a good team. Yeah, I think that is a huge one. So certainly in the startup world, it's all about the team. But I always say that it's broader than just the startup team, right? It's the team in your life. It's your partner, it's your friends, it's your colleagues, right?
I stopped getting everything done. We have a small baby.
Yeah.
And my husband is my main partner in getting top priority things getting done. That's
This is your husband here?
Yes.
All right.
We're not the ones.
Good job. What else?
Make mistakes.
Make mistakes. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one. Because, our parents told us not to make mistakes, right? And in terms of the Silicon Valley culture, Silicon Valley culture is very much about embracing failure, because failure is where innovation comes from, right? There's no way you can create innovation without embracing failure. But that's hard for us who are high achievers, right? It's also an interesting component because I always laugh about how Silicon Valley is the only place where you can pitch a venture capitalist for investment and tell them about your previous failed startups, and they'll like that. They'll be like, yeah, baby. Whereas people I've talked to in other parts of the world say that if you fail once, you'll never get an investor to invest in you again. And so, so I think this whole thing about how success involves embracing failure is interesting. Carol Bartz was a legendary CEO in Silicon Valley. She took over as CEO of a company called Autodesk. They make CAD software, so software for builders and architects and that kind of thing. And at the time the board brought her in as CEO, the company they were no longer known as being innovative. And so they brought her in as the new CEO in order to bring innovation back to the company. And Carol called the whole team together on her first day as CEO. And she said, I want you all to learn the 3 Fs, fail, fast, forward. Meaning you can't be innovative and you can't be successful unless you're willing to embrace that there's failure along the way. But I want you to fail fast so it doesn't cost me too much money. And I want you to fail forward. In other words, fail in a way that drives us forward as a company, right? That there are learnings that come from the failure that drive us forward.
Right, it's fast forward.
Fail fast forward, right. So embrace failure, but fail fast so it's not too expensive. And fail forward, meaning fail in a way that there are learnings that come from that, right? And then she went on to lead that company through great success. And today, I think Carol Bartz's fail fast forward methodology is kind of the essence of the Silicon Valley innovation methodology of embrace failure, but try to do it in a way that doesn't cost too much money, and most importantly, do it in a way that learnings come from it. All of us learn more from our failures in life than we do from our successes, right? You talk to any great athlete, and any great athlete will tell you that the moments in their athletic career where they learned the most were the moments when they failed, right? That's where learning comes from. But it's kind of hard sometimes for high achievers to embrace failure. What else? What else do you do?
Looking for a blue ocean.
We'll look for a blue ocean. Okay, so now we're on to startup strategy. Okay, you want to talk startup strategy?
Sorry?
You want to go back to talking about startup strategy? Blue ocean is a if I understand you correctly, it's a term usually used in the startup world. Blue ocean meaning a kind of a market you could enter where there's not a lot of competition, right?
Maybe not like only looking for the blue ocean. Maybe we could looking for opportunity. So we could rethink for some existing technology right now to improve it, or maybe find something else.
Yeah.
A lot of things right now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just spend just about another 5 minutes on the high achiever thing, and then I'll run you through some startup stuff from my book. So let's see. I did a little kind of a mini research project around this thing of high achievers, where I called up various friends of mine who are high achievers, and I said, what do you think high achievers have? And I got a variety of different answers. But one of the most unexpected ones I got was this friend of mine. He's been CEO of a couple of companies, and I said, Kent, what do high achievers have? And he said gratitude. And I thought, I was not expecting that. That's interesting. Why do you say that? And he said, some people complain all day long. All day long they complain about everything. Those people are not the high achievers, because if you spend all day long complaining, you don't get anything done. Right? So he says, I try to start every day from a place of gratitude. I like to begin my day by just thinking about how lucky I am to be able to do what I'm doing, how lucky I am to have the people in my life who I have in my life. And I find that by starting every day from a place of gratitude, I am much more productive during the day. I thought that was a really interesting answer. I was not expecting that answer at all. I think the habits of a lifelong learner, in other words, most of the successful people I know are people who are always learning new things, always looking up new things, maybe even taking classes that have nothing to do with their job, but they're just interested in them, right? I think that
Asking questions.
asking questions, being curious, right? Intellectual curiosity. Absolutely right.
And actually having a hobby. My first job interview was in a newspaper, and the editor-in-chief didn't ask me anything about any experience. The first question was, do you have some hobby? And,
Yeah.
The whole communication was about this hobby.
Yep.
And he was interested in me, like in a person.
That's good. Yeah. So one of the people I asked this question of was the dean of the woman who at the time was dean of the Stanford Law School. And she said the same thing. She said that when they look at applications to Stanford Law School, she said, everybody in there has everybody who's applied to be admitted to Stanford Law School, they all have good grades. They all did well in the tests, right? They're all smart. She says, so what I want to see is what their hobbies are, because that tells you about somebody, that what their hobbies are, how they choose to spend their free time tells you a lot. So, yeah. What else? Any other?
Keeping the right circle.
Keeping the right circle, the right people around you. Yeah. My mom always used to say that, she'd say to me, you are the average of who you surround yourself with, right? If you surround yourself with a bunch of smart people, that's going to pull you up. If you surround yourself with a bunch of losers, that's going to pull you down. So I think that is absolutely true. Absolutely true. We all have the ability to choose who we want to surround ourselves with, right? And so choosing well tends to make you happier and make you more high achieving. Yeah.
I'll stick with the questions. Having a critical reasoning.
Yeah. So right. So what does that mean? Having critical reasoning?
Having doubts about
Yeah.
any statement you have on the table.
Yeah. So I think this is especially true in the AI era, right?
Maybe allowed to dream.
Allowed to dream. That's good too. Yeah, yeah. It's the Rolling Stones song. It says, "Lose your dreams and you will lose your mind." Yeah, yeah. Allow yourself to dream. Yeah.
They're stepping out from their comfort zone.
Yeah, I do think that's. I think that's absolutely true. That there are some people who never want to get out of their comfort zone. Challenge yourself, right? Be brave enough to do things you suck at, right? Be brave enough to do things you're not very good at, because there's it's a lot of personal growth that comes from that. Boy, this is good. You guys are good at this.
Brett, there's also the reverse side of the coin for entrepreneurs. Sometimes entrepreneurs keep on asking, is there any training where I can get back to that comfort zone? Because I'm always out of that comfort zone.
That's true. That's true.
Tired of
I'm sick. Yeah, that's right. I've had enough discomfort.
Being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
To celebrate our achievements.
Celebrate achievers. Yeah, I think that's good. Right. Right. Celebrate people who we think model the kind of life we'd like to have. Right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Face our fears every day. We have
Face our fears. Right. So that's probably related in some way with getting out of your comfort zone. Right. Yeah.
Be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah, great things take time.
Great things take time. Right.
And to help plan.
Yeah. The
Question, did you see that in your observed group, that they are patient? Because the statement was be patient, great things take time, but
so
would you say that these achievers do have patience?
I think so, but I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction, which is that. So in the lecture I give on this topic, I say that I wonder if I went back, what advice would I give a younger version of myself? And one piece of advice I would give a younger version of myself is to stop looking for shortcuts. That when I was young, I thought that the way to success was, to find the shortcuts to success. And I now realize that for the most part, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of patience. There aren't many shortcuts. If you want to be a world-class athlete, it's just a lot of hard work. There aren't really any shortcuts to being a world-class athlete.
Brett, I've got a magic wand for you, This is one, a magic wand.
A magic wand, okay?
Yeah, guys, do you hear that from there? Anything? Can you try with that?
I thought this was
With
a
the
microphone.
mic, with the mic or without the mic? With the microphone will be better.
Okay, but now I have two microphones.
This is for the camera. And this is
Okay. All right. Right, so go ahead, yeah.
Being able to ask for help
Yeah,
and to look for help.
and to look for help, right. Right, so if we, remember the thing about, surround yourself with great people. One of the reasons to surround yourself with great people is that great people want to help you, right? And
If
so,
you're able to ask.
but my point is that sometimes people are afraid to ask for help, but you have a lot of great people around you and they want to help you, so ask, right?
Being ready to risk and to lose and to get something.
Yeah,
And not being too much connected to what I lose and what I get.
that's good, yeah. Okay, two more, then we're done.
maybe the feeling of higher mission,
Oh, feeling of higher mission.
not only financial interest.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I'm not a religious person myself, but I know that for many people, religion provides that for them, right? Religion provides them some sort of a sense of a greater purpose. But as you said, you don't have to be religious to feel as if there's a higher purpose. And I do think that most great startup founders, at least most of the great startup founders I know, are people who they started a business not to chase money. They started a business because because of some particular passion passion of theirs, right? Which is actually a good segue. We're gonna go back to startups for just a minute. You guys mind going back and forth between achievers and startups? Is that okay? Okay. So, so I mentioned that I wrote this book, and I'm going to quickly walk you through the 8 steps in the book for getting from a startup idea to a launched and successful business. And it's a perfect segue because we start with where do great startup ideas come from. And Paul Graham, the co-founder of Y Combinator, which is a very famous Silicon Valley startup accelerator program, he says the way to think of great startup ideas is not to try to think of startup ideas, but instead to notice problems worth solving. And that many great startup founders noticed a problem worth solving and then fell in love with solving that problem. And so this kind of gets to your higher purpose thing, that there's a lot of great startups that were founded because I believe that that to make the world a better place, I really want to develop agricultural technology that'll help to feed the world or something like that. And I think that having that sort of sense of a higher purpose that drives you, I think often helps in success. The money is one thing, but the higher purpose I think probably matters even more. Okay, so thank you for that, because a perfect segue into this. And then step 2 in the book is about how you're going to have to build something people want, right? That seems obvious. And yet, we've all seen examples of startups that spend a whole lot of time and money building a product that they think the world needs, only to find out that customers don't want it. And I've done it myself. That during the dot-com boom in Silicon Valley, I had an awesome idea for a new software product. I convinced some venture capital investors that my idea was awesome, and they invested $5 million in my awesome idea. And then I used that money to go hire a bunch of expensive software engineers and convince them that my idea was awesome. And we spent 2 years and $5 million building Bret's awesome idea, only to find out that no customer wanted it. And so having done this once myself, I'm passionate about helping others avoid my mistakes. And so step 2 on my launch path is, don't build what you think is cool, build what customers want to buy, right? That's what matters. And so if I could do that episode of my life over again, I would just take that money, put that money in the bank, and then spend 6 months just out talking to customers, understanding their points of pain, understanding ways in which I could build a software product that would help to solve a problem that customers have, right? Step 3 on the launch path is that we know that our startup is going to operate within a landscape of competitors, right? We know there's going to be competitors. But the thing that many people forget is that you're competing not only against the other companies that do what you do, you're also competing with the alternative ways of solving the problem that you solve. So I'll give you one of my favorite examples. So a couple years ago in Silicon Valley, a startup called Juicero launched, and they designed this beautiful machine that would sit on your kitchen counter and make juice, fruit juice and vegetable juice and such. And they advertised it as being the only Wi-Fi connected juicer on the market today. $700 to buy the machine, and then after paying $700 to buy the machine, you had to actually subscribe to getting the little juice packets shipped to you that you put into the machine. They raised $120 million in venture capital and went bankrupt in less than 2 years. Because while it's true that they may have been the only Wi-Fi connected juicer on the market, were they really competing with other Wi-Fi connected juicers? No, they're competing with all the alternative ways of making juice. There's a lot of alternative ways of making juice. And so step 3 in the book is about, you're going to operate within a landscape of competitors, but don't forget you're competing not only against other companies that do what you do, you're also competing against alternative ways of solving the problem that your startup solves. Step 4 is about business model. So business model is one of those terms that we use a lot, right? Everybody says they've got a great business model, they've got a bad business model, et cetera. But what's the definition of a business model? Can somebody define business model for me? Yes, sir.
How they will earn money.
That is kind of the simple definition, right? How we're going to earn money. What else? Anybody else want to take a shot at business model?
How your team will operate.
Your prediction to the business model.
How your team will operate. That's good.
Yeah, this is kind of prediction of your like finance of your operations, etc.
Sure.
And when you will get to the track and get back to your money that you invest.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So those are all, one more. Yeah.
The plan for business processes should work.
Oh, are you a process girl?
No. I'm trying to.
Right, so those are all great answers. So the definition I like to use is the business model describes the way in which we create, deliver, and capture value. So we create value by solving a problem customers have. That's how we create value. Create value by solving a problem customers have. Now we need to deliver that value to them through distribution channels, right? Through our website or through our mobile app or through our retail stores. And then we need to capture that value in the form of revenue and profits. So there's all these different things that go into your business model, but fundamentally it's describing how we create, deliver, and capture value. We create value by solving a problem customers have. Now we have to deliver it to them through various channels, and we need to capture that value in the form of revenue and profits. Step 5 on the launch path is about spreadsheets. Who here loves spreadsheets? Okay, maybe like 3, 4 people. So whether you love spreadsheets or not, your business will succeed or fail based on whether the numbers work, right? The numbers are going to have to work. And there's all kinds of things that are part of that economic model, but fundamentally it distills down to customer acquisition cost compared to the lifetime value of a customer. So how much does it cost us to get a customer? And then once we have a customer, how much can we make from them? So if in the quarter we spend $10,000 on sales, marketing, and advertising, so those are all of our customer acquisition activities, right? So if in the quarter we spend $10,000 on sales, marketing, and advertising, and we got 1,000 new customers, that means that on average we paid $10 for each new customer we got, right? Spent $10,000, got 1,000 new customers, therefore our average customer acquisition cost was $10. Now it seems really obvious that if it's costing us $10 to get a customer, we better be able to make more than $10 from them, right? That seems like really obvious. And yet, it's a leading reason startups die, is they realize too late that when they add everything up, it's costing them $36 for each new customer they get, and they're only making $12 from them. It's a very common reason that startups die. And so kind of thinking this equation through in advance turns out to really be important. Step 6 is about capital strategy. So most people, when they think of financing a startup, they think of venture capital, right? But there's many, many great ways to finance a new startup venture, and that's what step 6 in the launch path is about. Step 7 is about gotta get customers, and that when you look at all the reasons that startups fail, one of the main reasons is just simply not enough customers, right? Just plain and simple, not enough customers. And so long before we actually have a product ready to sell, a product or a service ready to sell, we want to start testing and optimizing our customer acquisition process, our customer acquisition funnel, in order to get it right. And then step 8 is about how every great entrepreneur has to have the ability to tell a crisp, clear, and compelling story about what she's doing and why it matters, right? It's a fundamentally important skill. And when we think about pitching, we usually think about pitching for money, but startup founders are pitching all the time, right? They're pitching for co-founders, they're pitching for customers, they're pitching for partners, they're pitching for vendors. And so that ability to be a great storyteller, to be able to tell that story in a very crisp and compelling way, that makes people want to get excited about your startup is a really important skill. And it's harder than you realize. It's so much harder than most people realize, exactly, yeah. And then all those roll up onto my, my Launchpath canvas. Okay, so.
Can you bring back, because we
Just for 1 second.
check all your 6
You're so fast like startup.
Fast like you mean this one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And
And the parallels also.
I will,
And the parallels also.
Previous.
previous slide too? Oh, this one, yeah. So I will be happy to give you guys these slides. And I'll even, I'd be happy to give you a PDF version of the book even. So not sure how we can do that, but do you have everybody's contact info?
Всі контакти нам надіслали ваші чи ні? Надіслали, так, телефон, то в КШДУ і в Академії сенсів, в принципі, вони є. Так, yes, we have the
Great.
contact, so we can...
So I will send to you,
Okay.
and then you can distribute. Does that sound good? Okay. That'll be.
And I will send to my team, and then my team...
Okay.
bureaucracy starts.
Excellent. Does anybody have a birthday today?
Unfortunately, not today.
Thursday
No.
counts.
Who's
Thursday counts.
what? Wait.
Thursday.
I understand. I'm trying. I'm trying.
I'm pitching.
I'm pitching. That's good. I'm trying to remember. The reason I was hesitating was I'm trying to remember what day today is.
Almost Thursday.
Today's Monday, right?
Almost Thursday.
Okay. Anybody have a birthday tomorrow?
In November.
Okay. Anybody have a birthday on Wednesday?
In December.
Okay.
Okay, Thursday counts.
You're the winner. It's all about the pitching. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I don't know how much time do we have?
All the time in the world, I think. It's more than 1 hour.
Oh, great. Okay.
For the talk, you mean for the talk?
Yeah.
No, just you have a mixture of talking and questions. I think you can talk up to 20 minutes and that will be fine.
Okay.
And we'll go to questions.
All right. Perfect. So I just finished this little part by talking about how there's a lot going on right now. And you guys have heard of AI, right? So, you know, because I've been in Silicon Valley my whole life, I've seen a lot of hype cycles come and go, right? That a couple of years ago, it was all about NFTs, and before that, it was the metaverse. And but AI really is a pretty big deal. So there's a lot of really significant changes going on right now. And so I'm going to quickly run you through, for those of you who are in the startup world, this will probably resonate with you. If you're not in the startup world, it may not, but hopefully it'll be still somewhat interesting. But here are some of the changes I see going on right now with regard to the process for successfully launching a startup. For 20 years in Silicon Valley, we've used pretty much the same methodology for creating and launching a startup. But I think that I think that launching a startup in 2027 is going to require a different methodology than what we've been using in the last 20 years. And here are some of those things. That, you know, a lot of startups die because they hire too fast. A lot of startups die because they start hiring people too fast. And people are expensive, right? People are by far the most expensive thing in running a company. And so the first thing I would say is that if you have a startup today, before you hire anybody, think whether or not that function that you're thinking about hiring for, think whether or not that function could be done by an AI agent. Because I think increasingly, you know, certain things can be done with agents. And building a company that is using these agents effectively, I think, becomes an important part of startup success. Narrow is the new big. So for the most part, we've thought if you're building a new software product like Salesforce or Oracle, something like that, you want these to be big horizontal platforms, meaning that they will support lots of different kinds of companies, different sectors, different geographies, because it costs so much to build a big software platform like that. You want it to be really horizontal so that it'll support all kinds of different customers. The economics of building a new software application today are dramatically different, right? The economics of what it costs you to build a new software application today are just a fraction of what they once were. And so I think that all of a sudden, there's a real opportunity to build narrow platforms for specific verticals. I'll give you an example. So I assume that companies in Ukraine for the last 20 years have bought a lot of software from American companies like Salesforce and Oracle and Meta and et cetera, right? I think that now, moving forward, you're going to see a real opportunity to develop new software specifically for the Ukrainian market, right? Why should you be buying Salesforce from a company in San Francisco? Why shouldn't you be building software specifically for the Ukrainian market? And because the economics of building a software platform are so dramatically different, I think we'll see more and more and more of these vertical implementations. We've kind of expected that in terms of what protects you from competitors. In the startup world, we say what's your moat, meaning what is it that you have that will protect you from competitors. And we've expected that the main thing that protects us, especially with tech businesses, is our technology, right? We've spent, what's going to protect us from competitors is that I've had a team of 5 engineers working on building this thing for the last 3 years. There's 142,000 lines of software code in there, and that's what will protect us from competitors, is our deep technology. I think moving forward, that is not going to protect you from competitors, because whatever it is that you built that you are very, very proud of, I think somebody else with a gallon of coffee and a subscription to Claude Code could probably reproduce it in an entire weekend, right? That, think about something like Instagram. Probably anybody in this room could sit down with Claude Code or even GPT and rebuild Instagram in a weekend. You upload a photo, you allow people to comment on photos, people can like photos. It's not that hard, right? So the technology is not what protects you from competitors. In the case of Instagram, what protects them from competitors is the fact that they've got 2 billion active users, right? That's the part that's hard to compete with, not the technology itself. And so my point here is that think about the other ways in which you can have something that'll protect you from competitors, because it's not going to be your technology moving forward. Outcomes-based pricing. So this is really interesting. So the software world has been used to the idea that if you want to use my software, it's $100 a month per user, right? That's kind of been the pricing model, the subscription per month per user. And it doesn't matter whether your employees use it a lot or don't use it very much. Doesn't matter whether you have good outcomes, good successes with our software or not. It's still $100 per month per user. I think that moving forward with this AI stuff, you've got the ability to have the pricing based on outcomes. So if my software helps you to drive your business, if my software helps you to get new customers, then your pricing will be based on that. Why should you be paying for something that isn't working for you, right? And so I think this idea of flat monthly subscription-based pricing that the whole SaaS industry has been based on is going to end. Revenue before headcount. For several years in Silicon Valley, there was this idea that we're going to build the product, we're going to get a bunch of users, free users, and we'll worry later about how we're going to monetize that. We'll worry later about how we're going to make money. I think those days are over, right? That you want to be serving real customers who are actually paying for your product as soon as possible. Focus on getting revenue.
Bret, it's like a lean startup strategy, right?
Yes.
Lean startup strategy.
Yes. It's more like Lean 2.0. Yeah. The founder is the moat. In other words, I talked before about what protects you from competitors. It's, you know, it's you as the founder. It's the unique customer relationships that you have. It's your unique approach to solving customer problems. The founder is the moat. The founder is the differentiator. If anybody could sit down with any of these AI tools and build the software, then what's going to make your company succeed is not the software itself. It's going to be you as the founder and your unique approach and your relationships. Fundraising is less important, I think, than ever before because it takes less money to build a company. And the great thing, I think, is that instead of all that time founders have had to spend chasing investors, trying to find investors, trying to pitch investors, instead spend that time with customers, right? That's what it takes. And capital follows talent. That we've been through this period where the idea was that if you wanted to create a tech startup, you had to move wherever the capital was, wherever the money was. But today, there's been this decoupling of the money and the talent. I'm seeing Silicon Valley investors investing in startups all over the world. And so create a startup, get it off the ground with as little funding as possible, and if you are successful, the investors will come find you. It's a whole different thing. So we add all these things up, and I actually think that the coming 10 years are going to be like a golden era for entrepreneurs. I think that I envy those of you who are running new startups now, or maybe you're thinking about creating a new startup now, because I think this is the best time ever in history to be a startup founder. There is just tremendous opportunity right now.
Maybe because there is too much money in the world and they need to be invested somewhere.
I think one of the reasons it's a good time to be a founder is that, yes, there's a lot of money out there looking for great startups. But also, it takes less money than ever before to create a startup. And again, that means that if you're successful, the investors are going to find you because there's too many investors now and not enough great startups. Through my career in Silicon Valley, there was kind of one opportunity wave at a time. First, there was the semiconductor wave, and then there was the personal computer wave, and then there was the internet wave, and then there was the mobile social wave. Each one of those lasted 10, 12, 15 years. And there was a whole bunch of opportunities for new startups around that wave. And then we were on to the next thing. You think about right now, there's like 4 or 5 or 6 different waves going on at the same time. There's AI, obviously, but there's also medical technology, gene editing, energy, climate technology. I know, we're in a country where defense tech is hot right now. Agricultural technology. You know, each one of these is a $1 trillion opportunity wave, and they're all happening at the same time. So there's literally more opportunity right now than I've ever seen. So I envy you guys. And it's not just Silicon Valley anymore. It's happening all over the world right now. All over the world today, entrepreneurs are solving problems and creating opportunity. And I think actually that countries like Ukraine are going to be they're going to be the big winners in this next wave. It's not going to be Silicon Valley. Why? Because there's much cheaper. So first of all, there's a lot of talent all over the world, especially in places like Ukraine. There's deep talent that no longer has to move to Silicon Valley to create a startup. You can create it here. Less capital required. New markets. I mean, markets like this haven't been served by the big software companies. Now all of a sudden, markets like this can be served by entrepreneurs here, in this region. So I think that when 20 years from now, when we look back on this next wave of innovation and entrepreneurship, we're going to be talking about Ukraine. We're going to be talking about Georgia. We're going to be talking about Brazil, Colombia, Kazakhstan. Yeah, exactly. I think that's where this next big wave is going to happen. Yeah. So so bottom line is lots of opportunity, but it's going to be a different playbook. That the playbook for creating a successful startup in 2027 is going to be different than it was even in 2025, because there really is a fundamental shift going on that is that significant. Okay, so that I think does it for the prepared stuff. I'd love to connect with all of you. I'm very easy to find because I'm just Bret Waters on everything. You know, some people on Instagram are like, you know, Fluffy Pony 123. I'm just Bret Waters. And I will put together the material and send to you. So we have time for some more questions?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we need one more mic. Microphone?
Are we done with the achievers discussion?
No, let's circle back on that. We'll circle back on that. Yeah, so we wove two things together tonight, the startup methodology and achievers. And now let's.
First of all, thank you for great ideas and presentation, very encouraging. I'm not on the artificial intelligence market, but I always wanted to ask somebody from Silicon Valley, don't you think there comes a day when customers are willing to pay extra not to have a deal with the artificial intelligence, to avoid it?
Yes.
That's my question. maybe more details.
Well, I think that, is that test? Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, so I think that, to put it slightly differently, I think that in an era when everything's being handled by AI chatbots, human touch becomes the premium experience, right? Human touch becomes a luxury, exactly. And there's always people out there who are willing to pay for luxury. So yeah, I'm happy to pay a premium price so that I don't have to talk to AI chatbots. Absolutely.
So from this time on, no need to focus on AI anymore, and to seek for the new way.
Right.
Okay, the question here, right, and the question there. Okay, raise your hands.
Thank you for your story about your failed startup when you told about 2 years which you spent on coming it for real. And I wanted to ask, is it too long to test the idea for 2 years and to spend that sum of money which you mentioned, $5 million? Yeah.
I know. I wish I had that money back.
Is it too long or not compared to success stories?
So what's your question? Sorry.
Is it too long to spend 2 years for testing the idea?
Isn't it too long? Yeah, isn't it too long?
Well, yeah. You're just trying to reinforce how stupid I was? Is that the point of your question?
How much time should, for example, I or my
Thank you.
team have for 2 tests?
Yeah. So today you should, like I said, I think what I said is I would put that money in the bank and I would spend 6 months just out talking to customers is what I said. And then if you spend 4 or 5 months talking to customers and decide that your idea isn't going to fly, then stop then. Don't keep going for 2 years. Right?
Okay. And maybe you can also tell us some story about project which worked. How much time did you spend on it?
You need the magic number.
Yes.
Magic number.
How many months should you test the idea before you understand it?
Are you an engineer?
No, I'm a journalist and editor.
Oh,
It's
completely different.
It's really magic for me.
I don't think I can give a generalized answer that it should be X number of months, but you're looking for market signals that this is going to work. I mean, actually, it gets back to the Carol Bart's fail fast forward thing. That within a few months you should have a good idea whether this is going to work or not, and if it's not, then fail fast, quit, move on to the next thing.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have one follow-up question to this one? Does it take shorter time nowadays to check the idea, like that it's not gonna work and probably the price is less?
I think so. Yeah, and this is a place where AI tools can be very helpful. So one of the most dangerous parts of human psychology for startup founders is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is this natural human tendency to, once we believe something, we tend to see all the evidence that confirms what we believe, right? And we tend to ignore all the other evidence. It's just the way the human mind works. And so let's say that you went out and did 100 different customer discovery interviews. So you interviewed 100 different people who were kind of in your customer target group, and you made really good notes of everything they said, right? You're going to come home and you're going to look at the notes. You're going to see all of the things that confirm that you have the most awesome idea in the world, right? Because again, that's how the human brain works.
What to do with that?
And so instead, feed all those notes into Claude, and say, what patterns do you see here? And the AI may notice some patterns that you may have missed. So that's one way in which this process should be. You still have to do the hard work of actually interviewing customers, going through that process. It's not, so there's no way around doing the hard work. But AI can help you make the process more efficient and make you not fall victim to confirmation bias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you there, over there, then here, and I see, and then, okay, and then, okay, good. Yes, please.
Yeah, good day, Bret again. So I have a question because I'm really working not in like computer technology, not in the social media sphere, but like in real business.
A real business. I like it.
Yeah. So, like, if you will look into the history or recent history of the United States, so the big money moved from, for example, New York, Chicago, and Detroit to Silicon Valley, and then you faced out this crisis in the 80s and the 90s with a lot of people who face out that their factories just moving to, their working places just moving to the China or whatever, where it's cheaper right now. So do you think this AI stuff will right now not like I want to say the optimize the workforce of Silicon Valley or for another country? So, and a lot of people will came back to the real business, like I mean, with that you could like take in your hands, like to create something in the like automotive sphere, aerospace, airspace, and other things. Yeah, because right now we understand, because in your monologue in the first time you said that like Ukraine was the one of the head from the Soviet Union about creating these things, and then we heard a lot of very smart people from all over the world that said you don't need factories, you should increase your service function, you should decrease your factories to 15% of your GDP and increase blah blah blah, whatever. And right now we phased out these things, and we still here just because a lot of things and a lot of stupid people saved this for us, and and right now we created these things under the ground for 15 meters back. So what do you think about this?
Thank you for the question.
I didn't hear the answer. I didn't hear what it is.
I think you, the way you're asking the question, I think you already have an opinion on this.
No,
which
I don't think so, because we could like for my example, we are on the road that we could face up something like Matrix right now.
Yeah.
That computer technology will increase, AI will be handling everything, and we will live in some like virtual world.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Yeah. So I'm not sure how to answer your question other than I am not somebody who believes that AI is going to destroy jobs and destroy us all. I think that when you look at the history of industrial revolutions, that every industrial revolution has destroyed some jobs, but every industrial revolution has created far more jobs than it's destroyed. Right? When spreadsheets first came out, there were people who thought that that half the people in the finance departments of companies, every company's got a big finance department, right? A lot of people said that with spreadsheets, finance departments would be cut in half, that half of everybody who works in finance would lose their jobs because of spreadsheets. Did that happen? No. There's more finance jobs than ever.
More people.
That's right. So that's the way I choose to look at it, is that this one will destroy some jobs, but it'll create far more jobs than it destroys. I know what you're asking is slightly different than that, but that's my adjacent answer. And we will talk more later with some wine.
Okay. Just a round of applause here. Thank you very much. Question here, then, Bogdan, if you don't mind, Bogdan, just okay, in a line.
Yeah.
Does it work? No.
Yeah.
Yes,
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hi, my name is Julia.
Julia.
I'm a startup founder.
Great.
We already have 3 years of working, and we reached already 1 million MRR.
Congratulations. That's a big milestone. Round of applause.
Thank you. And my question is about the growth, the path of growth that the founder go through. I mentioned that my role when I was starting was about doing everything, getting everything done.
That's what founders have to do.
Yeah.
Founder has to wear all the hats.
Yeah.
Do everything.
And right now I'm just trying, my role switched a lot, gradually. And right now I'm building processes, I'm building the system. And my question is about what core things should be changed on the level of mindset or in the competences for me being able to keep growing and keep scaling my startup, my business into the more and more.
Boy, that is such a good question. I wish I had a second book because that question deserves a prize. And there are like 3 or 4 different levels in that question, so I'll try to kind of very quickly summarize them. First of all, Julia was talking about, right? Yeah. Julia was talking about how as a startup founder, you have to wear all the hats, right? You have to be the marketing person and the finance person and the engineering person and everything else. So Mark Tarpenning, who's the co-founder of Tesla, is a friend of mine, came and talked to my Stanford class. Everybody knows that Elon Musk did not found Tesla, right? Yeah. And so Mark said that his experience was that in scaling a startup, one of the most important things is to know which hat to take off when. So, when is it time to hire a finance person and give her that hat, right? When is it time to hire a marketing person and give her that hat? And he said that his experience is that is one of the most important parts of scaling a startup. Is at first you're wearing all the hats, but to scale you have to not wear all the hats, and you have to decide which ones to take off when.
What are the signals for that? Are there any signals at all?
Let's see. What would the signals be? I think first of all, when you find that you're getting behind on the finance stuff, if finance has become a blocker, if finance has become a bottleneck, then that's a pretty strong signal. And then also there's the thing about what you're good at, what you're less good at, and what you want to be doing, right? And then, let's see, there's something else that I was going to say in there. Mindset, so I described the 3 stages, and I had a slide earlier about this, that I described the phases of a startup. Here we go. Back. There we are, right there. So I call this first stage exploration because we're just trying to figure out what works, right? We're throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, seeing what sticks. Right, so the process of getting to product market fit is a product exploration. And I call this next stage extrapolation, meaning based on everything we learned here, we're now going to extrapolate upon that and scale up, right? And I call this last stage extraction, meaning that now we're just trying to extract as much profit out of the market as we can. So this stage is about driving down costs, driving up market share, maximizing margins. Right? So for me, this is the least interesting, whereas these 2 are much more interesting. And this is also the reason why, if you look at the history of companies, for many, many companies, they have a different CEO for each of these stages, right? That many companies fire the founding CEO around this point, and bring in another CEO who manages the company to here, and then they fire that CEO and bring in a third CEO. So somebody like Mark Zuckerberg is actually unusual in that he's been the CEO through that whole phase. And so this is to your question about mindset, right? So the mindset required here is different than the mindset required here and there. So I can't exactly tell you what to do other than this kind of a framework of thinking about how the mindset definitely needs to evolve as you go through the different stages. We'll talk more. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question.
My name is Bogdan. I had experience, 6-year experience as a CEO and co-founder of a law firm, Ukrainian law firm.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And last week I signed a partnership agreement.
Yeah.
And with my new co-founder, IT specialist,
Okay.
we started a startup.
Great.
It's legal tech plus
Legal tech.
business tech. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and my partner works for product, building product, and my role is marketing, sales, strategy,
Yeah.
and everything else. And
All other hats.
Yeah, all the other hats, right?
And I don't have any experience how to work with startups, and it's something new for me.
Yeah.
And I have a very big desire, and I believe in our ideas so much, and I want to receive a recommendation how to dive in this sphere, or the sphere of startups, from the zero as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Buy a book.
But that's right. No, don't buy a book, because I think the most important thing actually is people. I think so I assume that in a place like Kyiv, there are probably a lot of startup events, meetups. I mean, stuff like this. Yes. Go to them all. That's my advice. That this is very much, Silicon Valley. Every night in Silicon Valley, there's some sort of meetup for startup founders or meetup for AI startup founders or whatever. And that's my recommendation: is go to them all, because you'll learn a lot being immersed in that whole world. You'll make a lot of really great connections, and that will be much more powerful than reading a book.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bogdan, for the question.
Good evening. My name is Evgenia. And I have the following question. I know the theoretical answer, but I'm interested in your personal opinion on this. Like, we're talking about that it's very important to have this supportive circle in life, our significant others and friends.
Yep.
And my question is, do you think it's a good or a bad idea, and why, to start partnerships, I mean co-ownership, with friends and significant others, and to hire them?
That's a good question.
This is a question.
May I ask your personal opinion, please?
Boy, yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah, I know you did that on purpose, didn't you? Yeah. I would say no, but there are, I know very successful, companies run by husband and wife teams, so it can be done. But I think.
But then they divorce.
Yeah, I think relationships are complicated enough already. There's no reason to make them even more complicated. That's my answer.
And about friendship and about friends, hiring them and starting business with them.
Yeah. So the reality is that your first employees will often be friends. They'll often be, people you know. That's just kind of how it works. And I think that probably more than half the time it ends up being successful. and something less than half the time it's a disaster.
Okay, thank you. Chances are like 60-40.
60-40, right.
Chances are. Chances are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Can you pass on that? This is the last question here at this part, right?
Yeah.
One more.
Make-
and then
so-
we will go to high achievers, right? You want to go to high achievers?
Sure.
Okay, go.
Make it a good one.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a question about their mindset as well.
Great.
And the question is, in your opinion, what are the main things which keeps their motivation go forward after failures? Which are?
Not sure I got the question, sorry. Can you say it again?
Which factors keep you motivated after failures,
What-
right?
Yes.
What keeps you
In your
motivated?
Yeah.
opinion, yes.
Yeah, I think it was Winston Churchill who said, success is about going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And then as a related thing, there's a Chinese proverb about how success is fall down 9 times, get up 10 times. You just have to get back up again. But I'm going to answer your question now in a slightly different way. So if somebody's pitching me on their startup idea, the most important thing I want to hear from them is why are they exactly the right entrepreneur for this venture? What is it about their lived experience, their passions, their knowledge that has led them to this moment where they are sure that they're the right person to create this startup? Because that's a proxy for passion, right? And passion is what gets you through those tough times. And this gets to your higher purpose thing, right? Having a higher purpose is what gets you through those tough times. And so I once had a woman, she pitched me on her startup, and it was some technology that would help people who didn't have hearing. It would help them to hear. And so she pitched me on it, and I listened very carefully. The technology was really interesting. She clearly knew what she was doing. And I said to her, this is really interesting. What led you to this startup idea? And she said, well, I mean, I grew up with a brother who was born without hearing. And so my whole life I've been just really passionate about bringing the gift of sound to people who are born without hearing. And I was like, why didn't you start with that? That's a pretty important fact, right? Because if I'm going to invest in you, if I'm going to invest in your startup, the most important thing to me as an investor is knowing that you are going to see this thing through to success, that you're going to make it a success, that even on bad days, you're going to get up the next morning and work hard. That, for me as the investor, that matters more than anything else, is knowing that the founder and CEO is somebody who is absolutely driven to make this a success. And so I want to know what fire burns deep inside of you that makes you want to get up on those bad days and do it again.
Thank you.
Hi again.
Hi.
My name is Kat. I am an
Kat.
ex-CEO of the ecosystem. You're having an event with tomorrow, actually. And
Are you going to be there?
you know, we have a limited capacity for
Ecosystem.
it's
It
ecosystem.
was going to be a CEO club tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CEO club
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I've seen a lot of startups, and we brought a lot of delegations to Silicon Valley as well. And I have a question. Like, if you were a Ukrainian founder today with limited access to travel abroad, with rockets, you know, like flying over unexpectedly every other night, what would be your main pieces of advice and steps to build a multi-million-dollar company? Would you have, I don't know, trusted people in the Silicon Valley on site to build relations? Or do you think it's possible to build the trust and relations you mentioned online? Like, what would be your advice for that?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I want to be careful about giving any advice to Ukrainian founders because this is my first day ever in Ukraine. So I don't have any expertise on this topic at all. But to your point about building relationships, which I believe is probably the most important thing in building a business, is building relationships. I think that's changed. And yes, I think it's possible today to build relationships remotely. And I actually think that one of the great things about, I should say one of the great things, one of the unexpectedly good things about the pandemic is that today we have a better idea what things work fine online and what things don't, right? Before then, it was kind of theoretical about, can you really hire somebody on a video call and know everything you need to know about somebody on a video call? Well, all of a sudden during the pandemic, we had to make hiring decisions on a video call, right? And so I think that now we've all got a little more clarity about that. And there's plenty of examples of, I have people certainly in my life today who I have done business with and stuff, and I've never met them in person. The relationship is completely on Zoom. So I think the answer is yeah. I think it's never quite as good as sitting down in the same room together and having a good glass of wine. Exactly. It's never going to be quite that good, but is it possible? Yeah, absolutely, it's possible.
Thank you there. No more questions here at this point? Okay. So do high achievers?
You've got, yeah, we can do high achievers. We can do, no, you're just holding the microphone for fun?
Yeah, just for fun. We can do just high achievers, 10, 15 minutes, and then the last block of questions and informal communication.
Great. So you want to do slides on high achievers? Is that what you're saying?
If you want. Would you like slides on high achievers too?
Yeah, okay. Well,
They have hunger for Stanford
hunger.
professors.
Okay. So let's just switch over to a different deck. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I already kind of gave you guys the intro to this, which is that I started pondering this question one day. And so I decided I would do a little mini research project on it. And so I used my two favorite research tools, which are books and wine.
At the same time?
No. Although that's not bad either sometimes. So, and the book part, so many of you probably have seen this book. It's like the best-selling book on this topic. It's good, but I'm not sure there's anything in there that resonated with me in any particularly profound way. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Outliers, which is about this topic, about what makes some people outliers with regard to their ability to achieve. And Malcolm Gladwell concludes it's just practice, practice, practice. He develops what he calls the 10,000-hour rule, which is whatever it is you want to be an expert at, it's 10,000 hours. If you want to be a concert piano player, no problem, it's 10,000 hours of practice. If you want to be a surgeon, no problem, it's 10,000 hours of practice. Angela Duckworth, a psychologist, she wrote a book called Grit, which, as you might guess from the title, her conclusion is that high achievers have perseverance. They just kind of stick with it no matter what. Carol Dweck is a very famous faculty member at Stanford. She's a child psychologist, and she has this research that shows that that some people have a growth mindset and some people have a fixed mindset. And so a fixed mindset means that you believe that the intelligence that you have is just the intelligence that you were born with. And so somebody with a growth mindset believes that you can always learn more, you can always get better at things you're bad at, et cetera. And so somebody with a fixed mindset would say, or a kid with a fixed mindset would say, I'm not good at math, I've never been good at math, I never will be good at math. Whereas a kid with a growth mindset would say, I'm not good at math, but I could be if I wanted to be. And she then, in her research, she follows these kids for several years afterwards, and she finds that the ones with the growth mindset are the ones that go on to success, not too surprisingly. Another famous test that came out of Stanford was the marshmallow test. I see many of you nodding, you know this one. So they took a group of kids, like, I don't know, maybe 6, 8-year-old kids, something like that. And they put the kid in a room by himself, and they put a marshmallow on the table in front of the kid and say, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. If this marshmallow is still here, I'll give you a second marshmallow. If when I come back in 10 minutes, you've eaten this marshmallow, then no more marshmallows for you. And so they're testing delayed gratification. They're testing, can the kid wait 10 minutes knowing that he'll get twice as many marshmallows? And some kids could, and some kids couldn't. And then same thing, they track these kids over the course of several years, and they find that the kids who could wait 10 minutes in order to double their marshmallow count are the ones that go on to high achievers. Delayed gratification matters. So then I moved on to my favorite part of the research process, which is the wine. And I took some various friends of mine who are high achievers out for a glass of wine and said, what do you think high achievers have? And my friend Jason said they have the habits of a lifelong learner. I mentioned this before, that there are some people who are just always learning new things, always looking up things. If they're in a meeting and some term comes up in a meeting that they're not familiar with, first thing they do when they get back to their desk is they look it up, see what it, learn about it, et cetera. So that's pretty good. Jessica Lesson, very successful CEO, she told me, focus on your 10x. And I said, Jessica, what does that mean? Focus on your 10x. And she said, well, each of us has something that we are 10 times better at than anybody else. And high achievers kind of identify early on what their special gifts are, and then they really focus on the things that they're particularly good at. So you guys didn't grow up with American baseball, but if you hang with me, you'll be able to understand this. So Warren Buffett, very famous American investor and businessman, he was asked what his success as an investor and a businessman could be attributed to. And he brought up the fact that the last player in professional baseball to hit over 400, so what this means is 40%. So 40% of the time that Ted Williams came up to bat, 40% of the time he got a hit. That hasn't been done in professional baseball since 1941. Nobody's done that since 1941. And Warren Buffett said that when Ted Williams was asked the secret to his success as a hitter, he said that he would just stand up there ready to hit, and he'd watch pitch after pitch go by, and he'd only swing at the ones that were right where he wanted them to be. And he had the patience to just stand there and only swing at the ones that were right where he wanted them to be. And Warren Buffett said, that's also my success as an investor, that I see pitches all day long, all week long, all month long, and I only swing at the ones that are a good fit for me as an investor. I don't swing at the ones that are not a good fit for me. And this resonated with me because I think earlier in my life, I tended to kind of swing at every opportunity that came along. And I think learning to only pursue the opportunities that were kind of good opportunities for me, that I was a good fit for, was an important thing for me. I asked my friend Fred, he's run some very large companies, and he and I were having a nice glass of California Zinfandel. And I said, Fred, what do high achievers have? And he said, empathy, smarts, and tenacity. So smarts, you know what that is. Tenacity means persistence, right? And I said, so Fred, smarts and tenacity, that makes sense. But you started with empathy. Why did you start with empathy? And his answer was fascinating to me because he said, success in life, and particularly success in business, is all about negotiating with all the other humans around you. So those of you who work for big companies know that all day long you're negotiating with people above you in the company, people below you in the company, with customers, right? It's all about negotiating with the humans. And if you take any course on successful negotiation, they will always tell you that successful negotiation starts by putting yourself in the other person's shoes. That I can't successfully negotiate with something with you until I first understand what you care about, right? And that's where it starts. And so Fred says people who have that ability to empathize, people who have that ability to kind of understand you, understand what matters to you, more quickly and efficiently get to a successful negotiation. And all those little negotiations that happen all day long in daily life, that if I'm really good at understanding you, understanding what matters to you, that makes my life a whole lot easier. Really unexpected answer that I loved. And some of you may be familiar with the design thinking framework, which interestingly enough, the first step in the design thinking framework is empathy. You can't successfully design a product until you first are able to put yourself in the customer's shoes, right? The first step to designing a successful product is to first understand the customer, understand the user. That's how successful products are built. And then I already mentioned Kent and gratitude, which was another one of my unexpected answers that I really liked. So all good answers. But then I started thinking about myself and the fact that I honestly think that I was kind of an underachiever for the first half of my life. And so I wonder what I would say to a younger version of myself. And as I said earlier, one of the things I would say is stop looking for shortcuts, so that, success is mostly a lot of hard work. And the sooner you just simply embrace the hard work instead of looking for shortcuts, I think the better off you're going to be. Focus on the deep work. In other words, or actually I should phrase this differently. There are certain kinds of processes that really benefit from you fully focusing on them. I used to think that my ability to multitask was one of my superpowers, that I could do like a whole bunch of different things at once. And now I realize that it's kind of a myth, that by trying to do a whole bunch of different things at once, I end up doing a kind of a half-assed job at all those things. And so there's certain things where I've gotten better at realizing I need to just block out the next 2 hours and just focus on this deep work, and then I will get better quality out of it. Small gains compound. That if you don't wake up one morning and tell yourself I'm going to make myself 30% better today. Just focus on making yourself 1% better each day. Right? And if you focus on making yourself 1% better each day, that adds up. Yeah.
What was on the previous slide about multitasking? Because it just came there and disappeared. There was a line. Click again.
Oh, here.
Multitasking.
Yes. Multitasking makes you feel busy, but it actually reduces the output quality. Yeah. You think that's true? Yeah. I love this this quote from Warren Buffett. I guess we need to translate this into metrics. So so I don't look for 8-meter bars to jump over. I look for 1-meter bars I can step over. Right. So same sort of thing. Look for the small wins, because the small wins will add up to big wins. 1% better each day. Right. Prioritize relentlessly. I try to 3 or 4 times a day, I try to ask myself, what is the most important thing I could be doing right now? Because I tend to, let's say at the beginning of the week, I make a list of what I need to get done. I tend to kind of naturally start doing the things that I feel like doing, things that I enjoy doing. And then at the end of the week, I suddenly realize, there were 2 really important things to get done this week, and I didn't get either of them done because I was busy doing the things I felt like doing. And so I try to ask myself 3 or 4 times a day, what is the most important thing I could be doing right now? And that's helpful to me. Invest in yourself, meaning self-care, exercise, nutrition, etc. It's another thing that I've historically been terrible at, but I've tried to learn to get better at. Bias toward action. Many of you probably find yourself overthinking things, getting caught up in analysis paralysis, right? And usually just making a decision and moving forward, even if it turns out to be wrong, it's still better than sitting around just pondering it for another week. And especially in the startup world, that as a startup, your biggest single competitive advantage is your agility, right? That as a company, you can make decisions quickly, whereas your large competitors often can't make decisions quickly. And so, don't lose that competitive advantage, the ability to make decisions quickly. This is the thing we talked about earlier about surround yourself with great people. My mom used to say you are the average of who you surround yourself with, so choose well. Let's see where we're going here. There we go. And we also talked about this one, right? Embrace discomfort. So you guys already told me all this stuff. It's awesome. Reflect consistently. So Eric Young, the founder and CEO of Zoom, he puts a half an hour on his calendar every evening to just sit and reflect on the day. So he likes to end each day by reflecting on the day, thinking about what happened today, thinking about what situations he wished he had handled differently, right? And he's find that this ability to kind of reflect on the day is really, yes? Well, he.
6 p.m. or 10?
Well, yeah. So you have a little baby at home right now, so you get these brief moments, right? Yeah. Yeah. My wife. Sorry, get the cotton mouth. My wife and I have 7 kids, so we are loving the fact that they're now all adults. They're out there doing their thing, because we had a lot of years that right where you are now. So yeah, so this won't be a standing time on your calendar. This will be a whenever the kid is asleep and not hungry, right? Perfectionism. So I think most of the people in this room, we probably would describe ourselves as perfectionists, right? That we high X. Oh, that's good. You're recovering. All right, good, excellent. So you know the ways in which perfectionism can be a problem. Reid Hoffman is a venture capitalist with Greylock Ventures. He says if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, then you ship too late. And here's the thing: is that a lot of startup founders, because you want that first version of your product to be perfect, you keep working on it, you keep working on it, you keep working on it because you want it to be perfect. But if you wait too long, the opportunity is just gone. And in fact, you will learn a lot by having an imperfect product out in the market, right? Having an imperfect product out in the market and seeing the way in which people react to it and use it, the learnings that come from that are huge. But it's hard to decide to ship a product that you're not yet fully proud of. Because as startup founders, we've got all of our self-identity wrapped up in the product. Right, Julia? Yeah. So let's see. I love, right, so I quote myself there: to win, you have to think in the future, but to survive, you have to think in the present. And so, again, Julia will tell you this, that great startup founders need to think about where they want the company to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, right? But they also have to be thinking about, how do we meet payroll next week? and so that ability to zoom back and forth, I think, is important and rare, right? There's some people who are naturally really good at the big vision, but they're terrible at the details of what's got to happen this week. And other people are the other way around. Other people are really good with the details, but they're terrible with the big vision of where we want to be 3 years from now. And that ability to kind of zoom back and forth between the big picture and align the big picture, or I should say the other way around, Align all of the small tasks this week with the big picture, right? Make sure that everything you're doing this week aligns with where you want the company to be 3 years from now. And that zooming back and forth is not easy, but super important, I think. Thinking about yesterday, I'm definitely somebody who naturally sometimes spends too much time kind of looking backward with regret. And Steve Jobs stopped worrying about yesterday, focus on inventing tomorrow. Ben Horowitz, another venture capitalist, says spend zero time on what you could have done and devote all your time to what you might do. And maybe this, Eric Young's thing about setting aside reflection time. So on the reflection time, think about the things that you did today that you maybe wish you had done differently. Learn what's got to be learned, and then don't think about it anymore. Don't spend the rest of the week moping about it because it's done. Mindfulness. So this is kind of a trendy term, and the person who's described it best to me was this woman who's on the faculty at Stanford, and she said, the mantra for most of us is, oh shit, meaning something happens and we immediately assume it's bad, right? She said, mindfulness means shortening that to just oh, meaning something happens, acknowledge that it happened, but don't immediately attach judgment to it one way or the other. And that was really helpful to me because the life of a startup founder is a lot of ups and downs, right? You're going to win some new customer deal in the morning, and then you're going to lose some customer deal in the afternoon. And you can't get too high or too low. You need to figure out a way to just be even keeled.
Sorry, can I ask you, did you know Steve Jobs personally?
A little bit, yeah. Never worked with him professionally, but knew him a little bit socially. And so, yeah, shorten the oh shit to just oh. Acknowledge things when they happen, but don't immediately attach judgment to them. And then, let's see, yeah, so then my last thing here in the slides is it's the parable about the professor who's giving a lecture on time management. And he puts up on the table in front of the class a big, huge glass jar, right? And fills it up at the top with big rocks and says to the class, can I get anything more in there? And the class says, no, it looks pretty full. And he takes some small rocks, pours it in, fills the space between the big rocks, right? And says to the class, how about now? And the class says, no, it definitely looks full now. And then he takes some sand and pours some sand in that fills the space between the small rocks and the big rocks. And so the professor says, so in the context of time management, what can we learn from this? And somebody in the front row raises their hand and says, oh. What we learn from this is that no matter how crowded your calendar is, with good time management skills, you can always squeeze more things in. And the professor says, no. What we learn from this is if you don't get the big rocks in first, you'll never get them in. And so decide what the big rocks are for you and put those on your calendar first and work everything else around it. And this is how I got through the period of my life when I was a startup CEO with young kids at home. I was so worried about how was I both going to be a good startup CEO and also be a good dad. And the way I got through that period of my life was that I put all my kids' stuff on my calendar first. So the days when I was going to pick them up from school, the days when they had a football match that I wanted to be at, the days when they had some music concert that I wanted to be at school, I'd put that stuff on my calendar first, and I'd work everything else around it. And so for you, decide what your big rocks are. Decide what are the things, for some of you, it's, you want to go out for a run, you want to run for an hour a day, right? That's really important to you. Great, put that in your calendar first, work everything else around that. Or maybe for you, Julia, for you as a startup CEO, maybe the big rocks for you this week is you want to get out and actually meet 3 different customers face-to-face this week. Put those in your calendar first. Work everything else around it. Otherwise, you'll find that the week went by and you never got around to those 3 customer meetings. All right, so decide what the big rocks are and put those on your calendar first. Okay. Boom. So thank you for, even though it was kind of haphazard going back and forth, I love the fact that we talked about this topic before I did the lecture on it. I love that, actually. I'm going to start doing that. Because it was really interesting first hearing you guys and your thoughts before I ever showed you these slides. And not surprisingly, you guys brought up probably half the things on here, right? Yeah.
It's going to stick better.
Yeah. We'll call it the new backwards teaching method. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about growth mindset?
Yeah.
And the role
Yeah.
of parents?
The role of parents.
In developing and growing this, like upbringing this growth mindset in their kids.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like we say in Ukraine, we have this joke that whatever you do, your child will always have a reason to visit their psychologist when they turn 18.
Correct.
So, like,
that is
based on
accurate.
your experience as an entrepreneur and father, what would be your advice and what is your opinion on this growth mindset upbringing in kids? Thank you.
Well, I think the most important job of a parent is to model the right behavior, the right mindset, and so to model the growth mindset, you want to be exposing the kid to a lot of different stuff, right? Expose them to art, expose them to music, expose them to everything. They'll figure out on their own what their things are going to be. You can't force your kid to become a concert piano player, but you can make sure your kid is exposed to music and art and everything else. And let's see, there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, and when things come up in the conversation, you instill the habits of a lifelong learner with them, always looking stuff up. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of more or less my answer. But yes, I agree with you that they're going to spend money on psychologists eventually. Yeah, and there's always this question. There's this nature versus nurture question. In other words, how much of who you are is in your genes, and how much of who you are is the environment you brought up in, right? And the good news is that either way, it's your parents' fault. Because your parents gave you the genes and they also gave you the environment. So, this is your first kid, right?
Yes.
So you're just starting this journey. You'll do great. There will be moments when you'll be worried whether you're doing great or not, but yeah.
Okay, one more question.
One more question.
One more question probably from me, and that's it.
Yes. I have not a question, but an idea I want to share with you.
Great, you pitch me?
I have a startup idea, but it will work only in United States because we don't have this problem in Ukraine or in Europe. Those who have been in the United States know that you have some issue or problems with the tips. When you go to a restaurant, you have always pay high tips for the waiters.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
And I know, many Americans hate it. So it's a good idea to create a restaurant chain, no fucking tips.
No fucking tips. That's what we're going to call the restaurant chain, is no fucking tips. Yeah. I'd go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I have a bit philosophical question for you personally, because what do you think? What connects people nowadays, except for the goals that are bigger than, that are deeper than the means of the terms of comfort or survival? What connects people nowadays, in your opinion? Some aims, some targets.
I don't know. Tell me what you think. Because I think the way you asked it, I think you already have an idea.
It is a question of the guy who wrote me this message. So I don't know nothing about it.
Oh.
The way you see it is like there are some aims, there are some means, for example, like the means of surviving or the means of comfort. Why can people be connected for the goals that are deeper than these senses? Personally, what is your opinion about it?
Where do you guys get connection today? Huh?
Curiosity, like interest, growth.
Growth. Okay, but I think the question is like, do you find connection on TikTok, or do you find connection on?
No. What can connect people between each other? with each other.
It's higher philosophy.
Higher philosophy? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Experience.
Maybe
Good
common
experience.
experience.
Yeah, common experience. Yeah.
What else?
I think everybody's different, right? Some people get that through religion. Some people get it through sports. Some people get it through the book club that they belong to. Yeah. Education, sure. Yeah, university, right, for sure.
Thank you for that question. A round of applause again here. But probably the final question, you know, we have a joke that there are lots of successful, unhappy people. So the question is if whether the life of high achievers is always a meaningful one, and the adjacent one, what makes your life really meaningful? What are your big rocks?
So, as I said earlier, my wife and I have a lot of kids, and they're all over the world now. And our only requirement is that they live in places that we like to visit. So, yeah. So we had 1 year. The best year was we had 1 year where we had one in New York, one in London, one in Aspen, Colorado, and one in New Zealand. So that was a good year. So. That's my recommendation for you is, start thinking about they just had one, don't rush them. But start thinking about, like whisper to your kid at night some of the places in the world that you'd like them to live someday so that you can visit.
Start with Ukraine. For the upcoming several months or years.
So your rocks are your kids?
Oh, yes, I think, yes. Although if my wife were here, she would say, what about me? I think my family, my wife and my kids, they're the big rocks. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for
Pleasure.
Having the courage, again, to come here to Ukraine in such a, difficult, really
Interesting time.
Interesting time. That's great, and we really hope that it's not your last time in Ukraine. We're very hospitable.
Yeah, I can tell that already.
Some places where you can drink a very good wine. Any recommendations, guys? Raise your hands.
101 bar.
Yes.
One bar.
Thank you very much, and we have some presents from our partners.